And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with the first AFLW round review. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the women have started. Round one has come. It has gone. Fantastic footy to open up the season in the space that is the men's finals by. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to keep it because it was fantastic seeing all 9 games get their due. Don't have to worry about the men getting in the way. Yes, even as a man, I will say it, the men's game gets in the way when the beauty that is the AFLW hits our screens. Joining me as my co-host, a very familiar face and somebody I absolutely adore talking with when it comes to footy, and that is the developmental coach and fantastic one that is the Norwood Footy Club's Allie Farrell. Allie, great to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
As per usual, looking fantastic as always. Let's jump right into it. Round one has come, it has gone. Your thoughts as a whole of round one?
Oh, it was a very exciting round one. Lots of surprises, some big scores from some really strong teams, and they've really stamped their mark on the competition, especially Kangaroos. But yeah, it's really exciting. You can see that some of these young teams really stepping up now and pushing and showing what they're made of. So yeah, it was an exciting round one, that's for sure.
Definitely for sure. And later on, when we get to a certain game, I will cannot wait to find out how it went because you got to go to an AFLW game this particular round because you had a little bit of a connection to somebody who got to don their first Guernsey for this particular season. We will leave that as a tease for later. We will bring that up a little bit later in the episode. Round one, we will jump up to North Sydney Oval, the beautiful North Sydney Oval, filled with red and white as they took on the Collingwood Magpies, and the Swans start off the season with a nice 15-point win, 50-35. Yes, Coach Hess was up at 4 a.m. to watch this game. Yes, because I am a club man, if I am not at all. Was fantastic to watch this game. The Pies came out, looked strong early. I think they looked fantastic. This was an incredibly good round, a good game of footy. And especially when you see a defender who's never kicked a goal in AFLW, and Stacey Livingston gets her first goal, yes, in a loss, but the smile on her face when that ball went through the goals, even for an opposing player as a Swan supporter, was fantastic. I loved it because she got to truly enjoy one of the coolest moments, and that's kicking a goal in a game of footy.
Yeah, that was a really cool moment, wasn't it? And like you said, just to see the smile on her face when she kicked that goal. It's been a few seasons, and she's the old duck of the team, and yeah, seeing a defender do that, that's what we love. And yeah, I was really happy for her. But yeah, gosh, the Swans, they just came out firing, and Privatelli and Malloy early, they just were looked so dangerous up forward. It was so exciting to watch. And then McAvoy being that utility that she is, her smarts for Sydney. I'll let you talk about Sydney if you want, but I was just super impressed with her game. Yeah, I love watching her, and I think she's just an incredibly smart footballer, and they utilize her really well. I think they were playing her on the wing, and she was just
Mhm.
like going wherever they needed her, basically. So
Well,
yeah,
my favorite part about the Swans is that, and I think it's a little bit of, and I've heard a lot of teams are doing it, is that you're seeing some of the flexibility of the roster because you're seeing players playing multiple positions. Because yes, I know everybody knows you got Chloe Malloy who can go forward, who can go through the mids. You've got Cynthia Hamilton who can go through the mids along with being a forward. Lucy McAvoy, literally wherever you need her, she can go there. She can play defense. She can play through the mid. She can play out in the wing. She can play up forward. So she can literally do everything. And she kind of showed it. She was the utility knife of this when the Swans were ascending and moving forward. You could see her shift up the ground. She was more on the wing or almost even going to that half forward flank when Collingwood kind of got a little bit of an ascension, started pushing forward. You started seeing her push back not only defensively for her wing role, but then she would maybe even go through the halfback line and they would push up. So But it was
Mm,
great to see. It was great to see Ali Morfitt back. I was a little worried she came in with a little bit of an injury cloud. Sab Frederick had her way in the ruck in this one. This was
yeah.
a great ruck battle. Sab Frederick, she looks phenomenal. You can definitely tell she's in very good nick. I think she's looking for a huge season for the Pies this year, which will only help out a Pies team that I think is transitioning a little. They're under a new coach. They're
Mm,
moving some things around. They're moving some things around. They didn't have Bree Davy as well. That hurt a little bit. But Britt Benici again, absolute superstar. She was magnificent in this game. Was a little bit of everywhere. And Chloe Malloy was down a little bit, but when she got the ball, she made her touches count, and that's all you can expect from a superstar. We even had a biff or two in this one when I
yeah.
don't know if you saw it. Maddie Collier got absolutely cleaned up in that one. And
Mm,
then that started a spot fire. And then Atkinson runs over Chloe Malloy after she marks it, and that started a spot fire. So
mm,
to see a little bit of Biff in the women's game was fantastic a little bit too. I'm not a big jumper punch person. I'm kind of think it's a little unnecessary personally, but that's just me. But to see see a little bit of mongrel between the two teams in the first game of the season shows. I mean, everybody knows with an 11 game season, every game is critical. Every game is almost an 8 point game right from the start, just because you have to bank wins early. You're not out of it, Collingwood. They're not absolutely done, but they know that each chance you get a chance to get a win, you got to do it because every loss only puts you deeper and deeper. So, but an incredible game. North Sydney Oval looked magnificent. I'm kind of bummed. I don't think anybody hit the fig tree this year, which the previous couple of seasons, the opener at North Sydney Oval, somebody at least hit the fig tree. So I'm kind of a little disappointed, but the fig tree is probably good for not getting footies kicked into it. But it was a magnificent game. Five was a 5,200 ended out coming again. The Sydney supporter base proving why they absolutely adore this Swans team. So it's gonna be fun to watch. I know I could brag all day about that one, but we won't do that because we got to go to the other game because the other game gave us an absolute classic as we see Hosking Cup 2 that didn't happen because one of the Hosking sisters was out injured.
yeah.
And it proved to be a little bit of a death blow because her sister, who joined West Coast, had herself a game, kicking 2 goals. And we see the coaching debut of the legend that is Daisy Pierce. And the ladies of the West Coast decide, hey, Daisy, we're going to give you a nice gift for the first season. We're going to get you a win as the West Coast Eagles defeat the Richmond Tigers by 40-39 in an absolute classic game here. I mean, Ali, I could not believe it. I actually missed the final quarter. I had to go to work. And all I remember is that eventually getting the spoiler online of seeing the game-winning goal and then the final 2 minute stretch. And I was like, oh no, I turned it off at the worst possible time. Because West Coast dominated the first quarter. I mean, West Coast was the better team.
Mm,
They had more of the footy. Hosking kicks a goal. They had Franklin bend one like Beckham in for a goal. And West Coast started off very, very well. Daisy was definitely very happy in the coach's box. Tigers come roaring back later, but the Eagles find a way to kick a couple of goals late to steal the 4 points. So a little bit of a shocker here is I was expecting Richmond to win this one. You have Mon Conti, Grace Egan, and Ellie McKenzie in the midfield. That is a star-studded midfield. Eagles just a little bit too good in the end.
yeah, I really enjoyed watching this game actually. Um, definitely the Daisy legend just grows. I was so happy for her. Yeah, I'll just touch on this quickly. Is at the end of the game when they won, you could see her
Mhm.
just getting in amongst all the players, and she still just looked like a captain of a football team, and she was putting her arm around them, and like she's just pointing out about moments within the game, and you could see her having those conversations already with the players, and just how happy and caring she is. Like I just love seeing that as a coach, and yeah, she's just going to be unreal as a coach for them. So that was really cool. But yeah, the game was awesome. I couldn't believe how bad Richmond were in that first quarter. They just really lacked that composure, and they were all kind of getting sucked in at the contest to the footy, and then they just had nothing on the outside. And yeah, they did obviously work on that throughout the game, and that last quarter was just so exciting when they, you know, Brennan had her opportunities in front of goal. You'd hope as the skipper, it's a lot of pressure on your shoulders, but unfortunately she missed some really gettable goals, and in the end that was what cost them, was those opportunities that they had. And yeah, the Eagles, like, they were just so exciting the way they were moving the footy, their run and carry, and you got players like Ella Roberts just running amok out there, and she's just so exciting to watch. And then yeah, Kelly Gibson just showed her experience at the end there when she wound up the clock and used all the time she could just to have that set shot right in front of goal. And yeah, it's what got them over the line in the end. It was really cool.
Yeah, the composure there to go, hey, we're low on time. I'm gonna make sure. And then, but then you just still have the steely resolve to put it through. It was like I kind of chuckled a little bit. I'm like, it's gonna be the clangor of the century if you do all of this to be sure, and then you spray it off the right side of your boot and kick it for a behind. So for her to
Yeah.
slot it, which again shouldn't be one that you should miss, but I mean,
Mm.
there are AFL players that find a way to miss from that close. So
Yeah.
she put it home, and and I agree with you. Like the smile on Daisy's face when the final siren went, and all of her coaching staff are giving her a hug, and you can just tell she finally kind of let it go. She was like, "Ah, it's
Mm.
over," and then just the smile on her face, just how proud she is. She's like the big sister,
Yeah.
so proud of her group. Like, is this going to be the run of the West Coast Eagles being a finals team? I'm not sure. I think this is a little bit of Richmond's a little bit under, like, no Montana McKinnon. She tears her ACL. There's no Elise Sharon didn't play in this game, and she's one of the best halfbacks in the
Mm.
entire competition. And Sarah Hosking is also out injured. So some key cogs for Richmond out in this game. So I'm not going to sit
Mm.
here and go, we've got the resurrection of the West Coast Eagles in the women's competition. I'm not going to go that far.
Yeah,
I
well,
will
Mon
give.
Conti did
Oh yeah,
everything
Mon
she could,
Conti
didn't
was
she?
Mon
Like
Conti. She did Mon Conti things. She'll get
31
two.
disposals, like, yeah.
She'll get two votes.
Mm.
She'll get second best on ground. My best guess, if you tell me, I probably Kelly Gibson will probably get the three for kicking two goals in this game, just
Mm.
because of how good she was. But I'm one of those. I sit here and I go, I the Tigers are not dead and buried. It's like Collingwood. I'm not going to rule them out because they lost this first game. But it's a little concerning that you got that effort after all the long off season and you got that
Yeah.
effort in the first quarter. It's a little concerning if I'm the head coach of the Richmond Tigers. I know you're out a few players, but it was not a very good first quarter. You got pantsed in the first quarter 13-2. So you did not come out well. You let a young team that as at home can get the crowd behind them, and you let them get ahead, and they pretty much
Mm.
led most of the game until that third quarter where Richmond took it and took the lead with about 6 minutes left in the game. So
Mm.
it'll be interesting. Both these teams, I'll be fascinated to watch because do you see the ascension of the West Coast Eagles and the dissension from Richmond, or do they switch places eventually when the rest of the season and the grind of the AFLW season kind of hits them, especially with our 4, 5, and 6, where some teams will be playing two games in the span of a week. So
Mm.
that will do it for that one. We don't want to take too much time on any of these games because I do not want to keep Allie up too late. So we will jump to the next one, which, I mean, it's simple. Good team versus bad team is the GWS Giants put a whooping on the Western Bulldogs. I mean, they spanked them like the proverbial redheaded stepchild, 72-9. I knew the Western Bulldogs would struggle this year. I was not expecting this. And I know
Mm.
the Giants have some superstars. Arlie Goldsworthy kicks four in this, absolutely sensational as that young lady. She won the Rising Star last year, very well earned for that young woman. But you can definitely tell this Western Bulldogs team, they have stripped it down to the bare bones.
Mm,
And it's Ellie Blackburn that I feel a little bad for because she's such a superstar. She's such a class act. She doesn't deserve to be part of games like this. And I think that's the frustrating part because this is a Western Bulldogs club that has history. It's won a
mm,
premiership. But to see them where they are now, and again, I don't discourage the young girls that are on this team that are having to grow up getting pantsed. But unfortunately, it's the way this Western Bulldogs team is set up right now. Is it's going to be a year of pain.
mm.
Is this a no-win footy team? That's the one thing I worry about.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really tough season for them, I think. They've just I wish I knew the stat. I heard a stat last week um, from Kate McCarthy. She said something along the lines that Bulldogs, the players they've lost on their list, um,
Hmm.
is it amounts up to like 250 something games, or it could have been more, which in AFLW, as we know, that's a lot of
Hmm.
games. Like and that's a lot of experience. So it just goes to show like how much they have lost in that area. But yeah, the Giants far out. They were just so good, weren't they? And Goldsworthy with her 4 goals. She's just such a class act and so clean and just makes everything. She can make um something out of nothing, and you just got to always be on your toes with her around. And then the experience in the midfield with Elise Parker and Nicola Barr, they just are such good ball users and are so composed with the footy in hand. Like they just drive their legs out of the contest and create space for their teammates. So and it was Elise Parker's 50th game, so that was really cool for her to get a great win like that. So yeah, but scary signs for the Bulldogs this season, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those that you're happy for the Giants because the Giants have been through a little bit of some tumultuous times either, but you hate seeing them have to beat up a Western Bulldogs team that's like they have some young superstars that I think are going to be absolutely magnificent. The double
Mm,
hyphen Katie Lee, Western Turner, I think is going to be fantastic. I know Elaine Grigg, the South Australian and Central Districts product, I think got to make her debut and didn't do too bad. It's just you can definitely tell they're young, they're inexperienced. I mean, Gab Newton moves away. You also lose Mui Leluifi to an ACL tear before the season starts.
yeah,
That
that was
probably hurts them big time because she's so good
yeah.
down back. And you're seeing Eleanor Brown return from her ACL injury from the year before. Just everything that could go wrong in this game went wrong. Again,
Mm,
there's some flashes. There's some flashes for the Doggies, but the one thing that I worry about is that are these flashes going to be in games a lot like this the rest of the season? So the teams that do have the Western Bulldogs on their schedule are going to be licking their chops, going, okay, here is a percentage booster, and
yeah.
that's hard. That's hard for this competition that's trying to get its image up, trying to establish some things, having a team that is in this particular shape. And again, it's not that they're not trying. It's not that they're not trying. It's frustrating both for the league and for the club of the Western Bulldogs. So, like I said,
Mm,
cross my fingers. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But if game number one against a Giants team that again many people are tipping bottom four, not a good look when they put up 63 extra points on you. So
mm.
we'll have to see how that goes. Let's jump out to Windy Hill in Melbourne, where the Fremantle Dockers hop on a plane and they get to hop on that plane back to Western Australia with 4 points as Anya Tighe has herself a day. As
Yeah,
the Fremantle
gosh.
Dockers get a 43-point win, 64-21. Anya Tighe, as some would say, good Anya, good Anya.
Oh gosh, yeah, she was just unreal, wasn't she?
Mhm.
And then you've got McCarthy with her first game in the Freo Dockers colours. She was just amazing too. So yeah, it's Freo. They're going to be. I think they'll be up there this year. Definitely finals contenders. They've got some really great talented players, and um, the Bombers. they're really young still, but they lost a couple of players early, and one of them being their skipper. It's hard to do that when you're only down to what, three on the bench. So yeah, they were definitely they were pretty cooked as soon as that happened, and you could kind of see like just they looked really flat after that happened, and it's that leadership that you lose in your captain, and she's just such a big presence for them on field too. So it made a huge difference in the game. But credit to Freo, they were awesome. The way they were moving the ball um, and then just their forward line super exciting. They've got speed and some good tall targets, and yeah, like you said, on your tie, all right, she was just amazing.
Yeah, it was the AA connection of Aisling and Anya for
Mm,
this one, with Aisling McCarthy kicking two and then Anya kicking four. So this was a fun game. I the talisman that is Bonnie Too Good up forward. It was hard to see her go out, and the fact that you lose two in that collision that cost you both, as you said. Now you're down to three on the bench. Your rotations are completely thrown off, and you're down a forward. You're down a forward rotation when it comes to it. Which, I mean, sometimes it may not seem like a big deal. Does throw off how. Okay, now we have to chuck a midfielder up forward, so it kind of throws
mm,
off other rotations. So it's a devastating one. I don't think Essendon played badly. They kept it close. It kind of blew out a little bit in that fourth quarter when Fremantle kicked four in a row. My apologies, to kind of end it. So the scoreline's a little bit misleading. I mean, it was within two goals for most of the game. So it
mm,
wasn't it wasn't like it blew, but it kind of blew out in the fourth quarter when I think exhaustion, fatigue, and then some errors, and then like I said, just absolutely great play by Anya tying in the Fremantle Dockers. So 4 points on the road as a Western Australian team has to be something you got to celebrate, because if you can
mm.
hold serve at home like the West Coast Eagles did and steal a few on the road, it's a great recipe to make finals for the Fremantle Dockers. So we'll have to see how they back this up coming in to next round. So let's jump to the next round. If I could go back to my thing, and we will jump up to the Gold Coast, where a little bit of the same thing, a little bit more competitive by the Gold Coast Suns, as the Saints get a 54-point win, 74-20. And the player that everybody's talking about out of this one is Jess Wardlaw, as this little ripper shows why she could be an absolute nightmare for teams in the competition this year.
Yeah, an absolute best on ground performance it was by her, and she it's going to be such a good move by Nick Del Santo putting her up forward. They've had to play her in the ruck last year, and um, she's just such a presence up there. Like how many goals did she kick in the end? It
Only
was two
two,
goals, two
only
goals, but
only two, but
it
she made she
it
made
felt
so
like
many impacts. So
yeah, it just felt like she had such a big impact on the game, didn't it? And yeah, and the St Kilda midfield did really well as well, I thought, and looked super impressive. So um, yeah, the Saints excite me. I think again they're going to be contending for a final spot. It's only round one, but you can see the growth that they've had over the last few years, and they'll be aiming for big things this year. I think if they don't make finals, they'll be disappointed. So it's really exciting to see them put that kind of game together. And Olivia Vesely, she looks like she's just gone to another level again
mhm.
this season, and she had some really strong games in the preseason games, and it's really cool to see that come into round one as well.
Yep. And this was also without Georgia Patrikios, who's an absolute gun through the midfield for the St. Kilda Saints
Mm,
too. So Tanya Smith kicks a goal. Tanya Smith kicks a goal there. So this is the Saints team. I've seen a lot of people that have done their preseason predictions that the Saints are one of the teams they see getting into the finals. And I said it from the offseason. I think the Gold Coast Suns facelift that they did this year, with all of the outs and all of the ins, I think the outs are going to hurt them a lot more than the ins are going to benefit them. I know you've got Charlie Robottom. I know you've got Lucy Single. I know you've got some of the super Strajactopi and Tara Bohanna, but you cannot make up for the change of list that you had. You had 10, if I remember correctly. I think they were like Brisbane, 10 players in, 10 players out.
Mm,
That's hard to keep continuity amongst your group when you've got that much turnover on your list. And some of the ones that left, Lauren Aarons was one of their rocks last year. She's now playing at the Western Bulldogs. Allie Drennan is now with the West Coast Eagles. Those are big losses. Those are not
yeah,
something you can replace.
leaders.
So,
Mm,
so I kind of look at it and I go, I've seen a few people like Gold Coast will still make the finals. I'm I'm a little concerned they don't. I'm
mm,
concerned a little bit that this is the result of a Suns. This is a result that may be tailored to kind of what the Suns season's going to be. They'll beat the towards the bottom teams, the Western Bulldogs, maybe the GWS Giants. They may beat. It's when you start getting into the Hawthorns, the Carltons, the Sydneys, the Geelong Cats of the world. I'm not sure they're going to have enough talent to be able to stay with them personally. But
mm,
again, we'll see. But I worry this is a little bit of a marker on what type of season the Suns are going to have this year. And I think finals may be a stretch personally. But again, one game in, 10 more to go. But
yeah.
unfortunately, not the start that they probably would have wanted at home. So we jump down to GMHBA Stadium where we see an absolute classic. We already had a one point win. Now we see a 2 point win for the Melbourne Demons. Somehow they find a way to go down to the Cattery and get a win. But I will say this as a tipster. The Cats may have lost this game, but they have not lost any loves when it comes to the Cats team because they pushed a very good D's team. And I know this is a D's team. Finally, somebody picked the lock and took a few of their assets away. So this is a skinnier Melbourne team than we were usually expecting. But this Cats team lost no love from anybody in this competition. They absolutely played their tails off. So I am not worried about the Cats. This is a good D's team. It's a lot of fun, but the Cats are still a smoky for me. I still think they could be the team to continue to crack into that top four and potentially make a grand final if they can get the right matchup. So D's get the win. Again, when you have superstar talents like Kate Hoare, sometimes they're just going to find a way. They're going to change games. That's what they do. But again, Geelong has nothing to feel bad about because again, their superstars are still there. So talented. Amy McDonald, Georgie Pasparkas, Nina Morrison, Becky Webster. I could go on and wax lyrical about this Cats team. I love watching them play. They're entertaining as all get out because they just do it the way I like watching their footy. It's a lot of fun. So as the Cats supporter, I know 2 point loss, but I think they represented themselves very well.
Yeah, I must say it definitely hurt seeing the score because I was obviously at the Crows Port game. So I was just watching my phone constantly and checking the updates for the scores um, and yeah, I was pretty gutted when I seen the 2 point loss because these if you can bank those early wins, especially the ones at home, it's going to go a long way to you getting in that top four. But you know, credit to Melbourne, they are a really strong side still. They've got some really great players, like you said, Kate Hoare. She had 20, 23 disposals and
Three goals.
3 goals as well, and then does her thing in the midfield as well. So she was awesome. And um, the Cats, the thing they missed, I think, was Chloe Shear. She's a big
Mhm.
loss for them at the moment. So
Yep.
once we can get her back, hopefully fit and firing. Apparently, she was having a cracking preseason too. So it does suck that she's injured at the moment. But I think she just makes that our Geelong team just looks so much better again. So it'll be great to get her back. But yeah, they're a great team. I love the way Geelong go about it. They're not so reliant on just one or two players. They're just a real team. Like they've got such a great team defense, and they work really hard for one another and celebrate the little wins. And then when they score, they all get around each other. And um, one of my favourite forwards is I love the Irish, and I think they're all just really exciting. But Lingy. She's just my favourite. I think she's awesome and very exciting. She had a bit of a quieter game, but I think she's going to have a huge season um, this upcoming season. So, yeah.
Gonna be a fun one. Like I said, I'm interested to see how the D's bounce back again. They're missing a little bit of their depth. This will test how good their drafting is. Can they make sure that they kind of restock the depth that they've had for years before? Because like I said, the lot got picked. Casey Sheriff is now in Hawthorne colors. You have Liza West in Hawthorne colors. So Maddie Gay is now with the Essendon Bombers. So we'll have to see. That, like I said, I'm interested to watch this Melbourne team. But the Cats, they're very, very good. It sucks to lose the first game of the season, but you've still got 10 games to go on, and I think you've got the talent. You should be favorites in a majority of the games going forward. So we'll jump over to Alberton Oval, which I saw online because of a certain someone on the Port Adelaide list that you and several of your Norwood girls decided to go watch this game live. So I have to ask, you got to see a showdown in front of your own eyes and get to watch the magnificence that is some of the fantastic players on this. You get to see Ebony Marinoff. You get to see Anne Hatchard. You get to see the little beauty that is Shanae Goody, who I absolutely adore. I think she could be a rising star potential this season. I thought she was fantastic. Crows get the win by 14. So an impressive performance after the Power took a few spankings in the first couple of ones. Like so, as I said in the preview, I think Port Adelaide's young talent, they're going to grow. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I think what Lauren Arnell is building at Port Adelaide is going to be so much fun to watch. And we have to mention the former Norwood player who you guys were all out for, and that is Miss Molly Brooksby, who I think had a fantastic game for her first ever AFLW game.
Yeah, it was such a proud moment for us, for myself and her family, and us Norwood girls. We were a rowdy bunch. We were out on the other side, on the other wing, and we made a lot of noise every time she went near the ball. And there was moments where we were like, "Oh, don't put her off," but yeah, we had some big signs that said Molly with the lot on the sign, which is her nickname at Norwood, because we say that she's got the lot, she's got everything. She can kick on both sides of her feet, um, and she's got amazing hair, and so we call her Molly with the lot as a joke. But no, she had an awesome debut game. Really proud of her, the way that she was constantly presenting and trying to get on the end of the hands, and her ball use is what shines through, because that's what her asset is her decision making and her foot skills. But then, yeah, like you said, the rising star for the week, round one, is Shanae Goody, and she is just an absolute star. I remember our chat, Donny, back in 2022, when she's just still a 16, 17-year-old. One of your questions was if there was one player that you could have from any other club, who would it be? And I said Shanae Goody, and that was a 16-year-old. So I've always loved watching her play and the way that she goes about it. She's just a footballer. That's how I would explain her. Like, she just looks like a footballer. She moves like a footballer. She makes decisions like an elite footballer, and it's just so exciting that she's finally playing AFLW footy. And it's gone a long way. Like, players like those two, and then you've got their next wave of talent that are a year or two in the competition, in Dowrick and Borg and Sachi Syme, that are growing. That's why they were able to, take it up to the Crows, who are going to be one of the teams to beat again this year. And they just showed their experience, didn't they? Like, with Ebony Marinoff and Hatchie in the middle. And then you've got players like Randall and Ponta running through there as well. And EJ up forwards, just so exciting, trying to take mark of the year all the time, every time the ball went down there. And then Jess Allen in the ruck, you can just see that she just has had such a big preseason, and is going to have a huge year for the Crows, I think. She just had such a great game, and it's really cool to see her go well like that as well. And just to think they've got players like Caitlin Gould and Najwa Allen to hopefully come in that side as well is a bit scary for the competition.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. And I remember saying in the preseason, I said I said Port may not make finals. And I know some people are like are jumping to that conclusion. I think they still need a year of mature. They still need a year of maturing. I mean,
Mm,
when some of your best players, I mean, Abby Dowrick is still young. You still have Piper Window. You still have Sinead Goody. You still have Molly Brooksby. You still have Matilda Schultz. And the scary part is you still don't even have one of the best girls from this last year's class in Lauren Young, who unfortunately tore her
mm,
ACL during the Sanfil season. Like I said at the start of the year, I said if Lauren Young is healthy, the scariest part about the Port forward line could be Ash Saint, Gemma Houghton, and Lauren Young. Who
mm.
do you stop? Because you
And
aren't
then,
stopping all three. You're stopping
yeah,
one, maybe two, but the third's going to get loose because there's no way you're going to have a third defender good enough to stop all three. And so
yeah.
the building blocks are there for Lauren Arnell and the Port and Port Adelaide. Like I look at their list and I see it's like Janelle Cuthbertson, first game as captain. I think she played fantastic. I think this was a really good game. Kirsty Lamb, I want to see how she'll kind of involve in definitely first game of the season. We'll definitely have to see and then Sachi Saim, who I know you had the luxury of helping with it at Norwood, and I thought she was absolutely magnificent as usual. And then and seeing Caitlin Wendland get a crack for Port
Mm,
Adelaide after going up to Brisbane and having a shot with Brisbane and just never really being able to break into what is a very difficult midfield to get into up at Brisbane. So I'm glad to see her get her shot because I loved watching her in the Sandful. I think Caitlin could have herself quite the season this year. Cannot wait to see how that goes. And Adelaide is Adelaide. Hatchard, Nafi, Ebony Marinoff, both they're going to do what they do. Eloise Jones again, fantastic. As you said, Caitlin Gould and Najwa Allen still to come back into this team. So this is a good Crows team. Is it a premiership winning Crows team? We'll have to see. I'm
mm,
interested to see how it goes because there's still some things I'm not 100% confident with the Crows when it comes to matching up against Brisbane. Can they match Brisbane's running? North now have the potential of three talls up forward. How do you defend them? Does Jess Allen have to push back behind the ball a little bit more when you play them? And then when you play Melbourne, it's the same thing. You got that forward line of Zanka and Hoare. How do you stop it? So there's a lot of questions still, even for the Crows. Again, the Crows will be there. They'll make finals. They'll be there when the whips are cracking. But is it them as the fourth spot in the preliminaries, or is it Geelong, or is it somebody else? We'll have to see. It'll be very, very interesting to see how that goes. So let's jump from this down to Kinetic Stadium in Frankston as the Hawks debut their new system with a nice win over the Carlton Blues 66-28. And this game was one of those, if you were wearing a toupee, it may have found itself 4 blocks down the road because the wind in this game was redonkulous.
yeah, it certainly was. It was blowing a gale down there. But yeah, far out hot ball. It's exciting, isn't it?
Mhm.
They're playing the Hawthorn way, that's for sure. And again with the Irish, Gilroy, she was just absolute
She's an
lightning.
absolute fantastic. She's one of those, if I could steal her and bring her up to Sydney, I would. She's
Oh,
absolutely, because you can put her on either side of the ground. You can put her on the wing. Literally, she can go anywhere on the ground and she will make an impact. That's just how good she is. It was great to see, like I said, Eliza West and Casey Sheriff showed why they are absolute gun players. Both did
mm,
magnificently. Sheriff kicking 2 goals, Liza West having 29 disposals. Absolutely. I mean, when you can kick Tilly Lucas Rod out of the midfield for
yeah,
Hawthorn, you have to be good because Tilly was absolutely. I mean, Tilly was subjugated to the halfback flank now because of how good Liza West is. So you put Liza West and Emily Bates, and then to know that you have a backup and Casey Sheriff can go through the middle, Tilly Lucas Rod can go through the middle. You do still have Jazz Fleming and some of the youngsters that Hawthorn has. If Hawthorn can keep this up, and again, they're another young team. I'm interested to see how do they handle the grind that is this year. if they make finals, they're a lot like the men's. Anything is possible with the youth and the enthusiasm because, as you said, they're a lot like the men. I mean, they're taking selfies on the ground just after the game is over. They're celebrating like all get out. It's fun. It's fun, enjoyable footy to watch. So the Hawk supporters that I know of, they're up and about. They are super excited. Both teams starting off really well, and the Hawks men in the finals, the women with a nice win at home at Kinetic Stadium in Frankston. So absolutely fantastic. It was,
Someone I did just want to give a shout out is to Mattia Breed as well.
oh yeah, she was magnificent in
She
this game.
she's an ex Norwood player actually, and just one of my absolute favorites. I love Mattia, and just to
But you
see
kept her
her,
on your bench for your fantasy team. Come on.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I had
um,
to.
it was between her and Goody, so yeah. um, but yeah, no, she's just to see her go out and just show her strengths in the contest, and just doing what she does best is really cool. And there was a moment there, I think, in the third quarter where she got caught holding the ball, but then she didn't take a step back. She about 1 minute later she got the ball again and ran off, took a bounce and took them on again. And I just love to see that, her still being brave and not going into her shell. So yeah, it was really cool to see her kick her first goal in the AFLW as well. So thought I'd just give her a shout out too.
Well earned. She was very, very, very fun to watch. It was again, I mean, and you've got superstars like Emily Bates, Caitlin Ashmore. Like I know that one shot, the one shot that they had where she was along the boundary line, and
Yeah.
you could literally the ponytail is like right in front of the camera and you can see it. It is almost at a 90-degree angle. That's how much the wind was. And Caitlin had a crack at it and she almost bent it through. It was pretty impressive just to get the behind, let alone kick the goal. But this is going to be a Hawks team. I cannot wait to watch. Again, it was great to see the Moody sisters both on the same team. I'm
Mm.
interested to see how this goes forward because I was almost a little worried they were a little too tall. Like I think they put this might not have been the best game to play three talls because
Yeah.
you're playing in windy conditions against a Hawks team that's undersized, they're not super tall, and they like to play quick, fast ball movement. I worry this one a little bit. They kind of put themselves at a disadvantage at the selection table by playing good and both Bree and Celine Moody a little bit. Again, we'll have to see.
Mm.
Again, hindsight's 2020. They lost the game. If they win that game, maybe it looks like the selection masterpiece that I think they thought it was. So again, there's still some talent there at Carlton. I don't think this is a horrible loss, but it kind of shows you how good the Hawks can be. It'll be fun to
Yeah.
keep an eye on this Hawks team going forward. Let's jump up to Brighton Homes Arena, up in Ipswich, up in Queensland, as the curse of the Premiership continues, as the North Melbourne Roos come up and go, you may have beat us in the grand final, but hold my beer. You ain't doing it again as they put a whooping on the Brisbane Lions, unfurl the flag, and then take a whooping by 44, 78-34. The biggest loss the Brisbane Lions have ever had in AFLW history. And it is showing why maybe, just maybe, North could be what everybody thinks they are, and that is a premiership favorite because that is an impressive, and I will say it again, impressive win, not only on the road, but against the defending premiers.
Yeah, I gotta say, I did not see this coming. Like, yeah, I'm not surprised that North Melbourne won, but with the margin of 44 points, that was just, yeah, a bit scary, really, what the Kangaroos were able to do. And, they just looked so well drilled and confident in their themselves and the way they wanted to play and their ball movement as well. And then just the pair of Jazz Gardner and Ash Riddell in that midfield is just absolutely like formidable. Like really, they just move the ball so well, and those two just connect the way they connect. Jazz Gardner looks like an inside and outside player, and then Ash Riddell, she's just so electric. So yeah, the Kangaroos are going to be tough to beat this year, and I don't think it's saying that Brisbane aren't going to be a contender again. I think the Kangaroos just definitely had that fire in the belly still from the grand final loss last year, and um, they are going to be hard to beat, but Brisbane still will be up there, I think.
Most of the time, the team that even loses this game still has a chance to make finals again. There's still
Mm,
10 games still to go. Brisbane is still one of the best, if not the best team in the competition. This is just one of those, you face an inspired Roos team, and again, this is a Roos team that the scary part is they got better. That's the scary part is they were good last year. They were
yeah.
good, but they're better this year. You add Libby Birch, you add some great experience, and you bring back
Mm,
Vicky Wall, who didn't play at all last year and gets the first goal of the game. I mean,
she
you
looked good.
literally, it is a
Mm,
new play. It is like getting a new player because they didn't have Vicky Wall last year. So this is a Ruse team that they're inspired. Can they maintain it for 11 games and then through the finals? We'll have to see because again, sometimes the Ruse find ways to keep teams who are inferior than them in games and sometimes can cost them points. We'll have to see how that goes. And again, Brisbane, they're good. They're very, very good.
mm,
They're not going away. This isn't the dissension of the Brisbane Mighty Mass. Starcevich will he'll chuck a few chairs, he'll give them a few mighty sprays, he'll make a few changes here, he'll get the girls inspired. And unfortunately, what I would say is whoever is the team that they play this week, which is Collingwood, I would not want to be them. I would not want to be Collingwood because they're going to get a very inspired Brisbane. If Coach Starcevich is anything like I think he is,
yeah.
Collingwood is in for a rude awakening in this game. Like, I
Mm,
hope Bree Davy is back for Collingwood because they're going to need her because you are going to get an angry, very, very motivated Brisbane Lions team going into this one because they got embarrassed on their home grounds the day they unfurled the flag. There's
yeah.
nothing more embarrassing than getting whooped on your home ground in front of your fans the day you unfurl a premiership. So again, you had an inspired North team, so I completely understand this result. It's not making me question Brisbane, but if I'm Collingwood next week, I'm a little terrified because
Shaking in your boots.
a little bit. And again, Collingwood's not a bad side either. I think they played really really well in their game against Sydney, but this is a level up to
Mm,
Brisbane. So
yeah.
let's go to it. So that is all 9 games talked about. Let's jump to the burning questions. And I will go to this as the avid women's footy supporter that you are, and you know I am too. I will go for days complaining about how the women's game is treated. It very much pisses me off. So we got to talk about it, and that is the Western Bulldogs situation over in Victoria for this Friday when the original scheduling after the men's final was put out that both the men's and the women's team of the Western Bulldogs would be playing at the same time. So, your thoughts on this situation with the AFL putting the men's and women's games for the doggies on at the same time?
Yeah, it was really disappointing that they didn't have the foresight to plan around this, and um, I think it's just the thing is it just shows you know that it just kind of says that the AFL doesn't matter. That's how it kind of feels to me, and I'm not sure like what you think about that, Donny, but yeah, I think it's just disappointing the way that there was no um, thought process before scheduling this game.
I will, if you don't mind, may I put my soapbox down and stand on my soapbox and have some fun here?
Go
Do
for
you
it.
mind? Okay, soapbox down. This is where my point that I've said with many people because I've heard it constantly said is the women should be the curtain raisers. The women should be the curtain raisers. And my argument against them being curtain raisers is because the competition is already looked to second class. Already. It already is. Now, do I put the opinions of some of the people that have stated this out loud worth much? No. But here's the thing. The AFL and AFL House just showed that to everybody with this decision. Again, I understand, okay? And I don't mean to be mean, but I'm very, very truth on this. The AFL and AFL House are only worried about the men's competition. The women's competition is we're doing this to please the women, okay? That's all we're doing this for. They don't say it out loud. They'll never say it out loud. You'll never hear you would have never heard Gil, and you're never gonna hear Dylan say this. But if you watch their actions say it so loudly, it's like a bullhorn. Okay. It's just obvious. If you cared about the AFLW like you cared about the men's competition, this would have never happened. One, because the AFL men's finals was completely up to you setting the schedule. Okay.
Mm,
I get it. You want to put 90 to 100,000 at the G for the Doggies Hawks game because it's the only game in Victoria. I get it. Why not play it Saturday? Why not play it Thursday? Why do you have to play it on Friday? You're sitting there. You're an AFL house, damn it. You've got the women's schedule. You know their women's team is playing at Whitten Oval, reopening Whitten Oval after its facelift that it had. And how you bugger this up just shows a complete level of incompetence
mm.
by not only the schedule keepers, but then my favorite part is that Andrew Dillon goes out there on some of the shows and it's like, well, we have women's games. I go, yeah, but we would never know about it because you're scheduling a men's final with the same club that's opening up its facility after a facelift, and you still do it.
Mm.
And then to fix it, you kind of put a band-aid over a bullet hole and you go, oh, we're going to move the Port and Western Bulldogs game to the MCG. They get to play on the MCG. Okay. The tickets were already the tickets were already sold out for the game. So none of the women's fans could go until they're like, well, we're going to honor the tickets that we sold for the Whit Oval. I go, okay, yeah. But now you got to kick those people out because the game for the MCG is already sold out. So none of the people can stay for the men's game.
Mm.
So it's kind of like you didn't think about this. There was no thought process to, oh, the Whitten Oval game, same club has made the finals. We might want to think about not making fans have to decide men's game, women's game, men's game, women's game. Because if we're being 100% honest, most people are going to go, men's game, final. I will watch this. Women's
Mm.
game, I do not care. Bye bye.
Mhm.
That's the problem that I have with it. Again, I understand that the fan bases are different. And I don't think AFL House understands that either. Again, I hate going on my soapbox on this, but this is very, very, very frustrating because you put a band-aid over a bullet hole with moving the game. Okay. You just did. I'm sorry, Andrew Dillon and everybody at AFL House. You didn't fix the problem. You just put a tiny band-aid over a bullet hole and expected it to just heal on its own. And it's not going to. And it's very, very frustrating because if you don't want the women's game to be looked at as second class, stop treating it like that because that's
Yeah.
the way it's being treated. So it's like I said, I've said it numerous times. The reason I don't want curtain raisers is because it's already seen as a second class competition already. If you demote it, and I mean that in my words, I say my words specifically. If you demote it to curtain raisers, you're basically telling everybody in the world that's what it is. It is a second
Mm.
class. That's the way it's always going to be looked at. I wanted to have as much free air as possible. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. You were never going to get it perfect, but I think where it's at is probably the best possible situation you can get, unless you want these girls to play in the summertime, which I get it is not ideal. So it's which pill do you want to take? Do you want to do the footy? You want to do the footy fatigue in the fall, so where everybody's done before Christmas, or do you want to start the footy fatigue by playing in January and playing in super hot conditions, but you're also fighting against cricket and the tennis? So how
Yeah, there's always an argument for everything, isn't it?
yep.
And um, I guess that's
Yep.
the decisions they've tried to make now with this move, and um, you're going to have these fixturing issues for years now with it starting right in smack bang in finals. But
Yep.
I
And
do I
as
do love the buy round where we get to play free air there. That's really cool.
yep. But here's the thing though, is if you start expanding games, the utopian idea for me, and again, this will never happen. But my utopian idea is the men to go back to 17 games where they play everybody once. And then the extra weeks that you would get because the men's aren't playing 25 games, which at the pace it's going, they're going to be playing all year long at the pace they're going.
Mm.
Instead of playing more men's games, play everybody once, play your rivals twice. Okay. Then you get 18. Okay. All right. Then you get 18 games. Okay. You play your rivals. So GWS and Sydney would play each other twice. Collingwood, Carlton would play each other twice. Geelong and Hawthorn would play each other twice. They'd figure it out. They're smart enough. But then those extra weeks would then be the women's. Like it's again, it's utopian. It will never happen because broadcasters want as many games as possible because then they
Yeah.
can make as much money. It's a utopian thing that's never going to happen.
I was going
But
to say
that,
maybe if Patrick Dangerfield, when he retires and becomes CEO of the AFL, he might make it happen because he's always saying, the players want less games because it's just too long of a season on their bodies and that kind
yeah,
of thing.
I
So,
completely, how
mm,
can you can, like I said, if you take the 4 or 5 games that the men are playing extra and give it to the women, guess what? Then the women are playing everybody once instead of having the point where the Sydney Swans still have not played the Melbourne Demons yet. There are teams that have not played each other and
I
they're
know it's
8 seasons
crazy.
in. That's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
and I get competition wise, but the fact that Richmond West Coast was the first time they've ever played, and both teams have been in the competition over 5 years, and they've never played each other, make that make sense. I know exactly.
Right.
Brain blown emoji. So sorry. I will take my soapbox and I'll put it back over there in the corner and I'll
No,
save it for
love,
another time later
I
on
love the passion.
in the AFLW season. But the reason that I love it so much is because these women deserve it. These women are such incredible athletes. I will fight to the for tooth and nail for these women. And maybe it's just because I know people like you, Allie, like Simo, your captain, who I think is an absolutely magnificent footy player. I love watching her play. Um, Poppy Waterford, Jess Bates, Kiana Lee, some of these young women that I've got to talk to that they may never play AFLW, but you want to know what? They're wonderful footy players and wonderful human beings. I'm going to throw my support when I can. I know
Oh, Donny.
I'm 14,000 kilometers away from Adelaide. I'm 13,000 kilometers from Sydney. Okay, I know I'm a far ways away, but I'm going to do my damnedest to try to throw something behind these women because you deserve it because
Well,
you
thank you.
played your
And that's
tails off.
why we always come on your show because we appreciate the support that you show women's footy. So you're
Like
amazing.
I will say this. I think women's footy has more of a connection with the fans than the men's after the years. It's almost been sterilized. So I will say that now. That will end my soapbox moment. We will jump back into it. And I got to ask this as a coach yourself, how good is it for the competition that the Daisy-led West Coast Eagles won and looked much better in their season than seasons prior?
Yeah, well, she's just such an impressive person, and you can see that from like I've been lucky enough to meet her a few times, and she's just such a genuine person, and when you speak to her, it just feels like you're the only person in the world that matters in at that moment, and I know that's how she would make every one of her players feel that's on her list and her staff feel, and it's no wonder they've shown that growth that they have in the off season, and the Eagles are just so lucky to have someone like her at their footy club. And she was just such a quality person. You could tell when she was doing the commentary, like her knowledge of the game is incredible, uh, and you can just see that those players they're playing for her and for their teammates as well, because she would be, driving that culture that she's known for, that she's grown at the D's in the past. So yeah, it's so cool. I'm just so happy for her. So happy to see that the Eagles are going to be competitive again, because you don't want to see them, at the bottom every single year. So yeah, it's going to be good.
I'll say this when it comes to, I said it in the preseason. I said Daisy is one of the few where, as a young player, you can literally look at the player and go, "Do you think I'm going to tell you a lie, considering my career that I've had?" Because it's young girls like Jess Wrench that are joining the team. They're like, I mean, literally, that is their idol. Like Jess Wrench literally said, like Daisy is one of her idols. How
Yeah.
cool is that to literally have your idol as your head coach? But the ability for her to say, I've been through your shoes. I know what you guys have to go through. I know that, I mean, there's nothing better than that to be able to have a coach that has been through what you've had to been through. So I I'm so excited to watch this West Coast Eagles team because again, we're scratching the surface. Again, it's going to take a year or so for Daisy to fully get her style and her system into. I still think there are a few players away from making finals, but there's improvement. There's that
Yeah.
fight that only the inspiration that is Daisy can bring in. So this is going to be a West Coast Eagles team. They are not going to be pushovers. They're going to push every team that they play to the. They're going to steal a few. They're going to take They're going to take 4 points away from a few teams this season. They're going to influence finals this year. Them and a few teams, I think, are going to be those teams that you got to get 4 points against them because if you don't, you're going to regret it. So it's going to be
Mm.
so much fun to watch. So
Especially the games that they have in Perth as well.
exactly.
They're going to be really tough for the away team. So
Yep.
yeah,
Going to be so much fun. All right. Well, we're going to get a proud big sister slash mom moment for you, Allie. Port showed to be very competitive in their game against Adelaide. How proud are you of your girl, Molly Brooksby's first ever AFLW game?
yeah, it was like I said before, a really special moment to see her running out there for the first time, and after, when she was actually running out to her position and could just see her giving her teammates high fives, I actually did start to get a couple of tears in my eyes, and some of the Norwood girls are laughing at me, but it just means a lot, and I've coached her when she was 14 years old. And then been lucky enough to play alongside her in the sample. So just to watch her journey as a footballer, I knew she was going to make AFLW because she is an elite athlete in every aspect of what she does. She pushes herself, she pushes her body, and does the extras, and that's why she is such a skillful player. But also, she's not the most natural, fittest, or fastest person, but she works incredibly hard on that, and she always has. So, yeah, she's an incredible young woman, and yeah, I'm just really, really proud of the way she went about it on the weekend as well, and to see her get a few really good touches and lay some great tackles and just experience that. It just would have been a bit surreal for her, I'm sure. But yeah, we got to fangirl at the end and get a photo with her and get a signature on the poster that I made her. And yeah, made her feel really special. So no, it was really cool.
That's fantastic, the support that you have given to it. And I will say this, Ali, if you have any connections with Molly, I would love to have her on the podcast. Again, I know she's in season, so nothing now. We'll get through the season if so, but if she would be at all keen, I would love to have that little ripper on the podcast. I think she would be a fantastic chat for sure. So we're gonna go from mom hat to now fan hat. So we're gonna chuck on those hoops, chuck on your cat's hat. Your Cats put up a mighty effort against the D's as she shows her Geelong jacket on, her Geelong sweater on the YouTube part of the podcast. So put up a mighty effort against the D. Is it against the D's? Is this a sign that the Cats are now one of the clubs fighting for a premiership, or am I jumping the shark just the tiniest bit?
No, I definitely think they'll be up there as a contender. Again, they gave it a red hot crack last year, but they were still quite young, I think, and better for the run. So this season, I think they'll use that experience of having a little berth in finals and use that experience this year. So yes, that 2 point loss, it really hurts on the weekend, but I think that'll just drive them more for the rest of the season, and I think they'll upset some of the teams that you think that could win. So I definitely think they've got something to give up against someone like a Brisbane and the Crows. Not sure about North Melbourne. We'll see. They look pretty scary at the moment, but yeah, I think they'll be able to push it. And like I said, once hopefully Chloe Shear gets back, she just adds another element again, and is just such a huge presence for them. And yeah, they're just such an exciting team. And obviously, I'm a bit biased, but I've fallen in love with a lot of the players on the list, like Nina Morrison, the Prez, Perry, Owen, Friswell. They're just really cool players and just play
Crockett
for one
Grills is one
another.
of my favorites. I absolutely love her.
Who's that? Sorry.
Crockett Grills.
Oh yeah, she's so cool, isn't she?
Absolutely
Yeah,
love her to death. Zoe Friswell's another one I love. Michaela Bowen, I think, has been fantastic. They're young, but they've got those senior heads like the Jackie Perrys and the Meg McDonalds. Again, maybe it's the part of me that I love Dane Rampy when it comes to the Swans. So I love the undersized, maybe undervalued defender. So Meg McDonald for me for the Cats is another one. Claudia Kanjaka, I think she played magnificent last year.
yeah.
I put her in my All Australian team last year. I thought she had an incredible season last year, and she started another strong season again this year. Did Claudia? So this is it's a fun Cats team to watch. They're very entertaining. That they have some flair with Maddie Prasparkas and Nina Morrison and Amy McDonald through the middle, but they're solid where they need to be. So I'm with you on this. I think the Cats are they premiership contenders? We'll have to see again. Right now it's an elite club. Right now it's most people would say North, Brisbane, Adelaide, D's maybe, and Geelong's kind of that outsider. But if you come up, you win three or four, you start getting and you get Chloe Shear back, then they're definitely in the conversation for sure. So
Mm.
we'll jump to the part of the podcast. Coach takes over just the littlest bit. Remember, I always say this, I will not do power rankings until at least 4 rounds into the season, just because I want to get some form lists going. So we will just have team of the week, and then we will jump to my favorite part, and that is tips. So team of the week will start on the defensive side, and I got to do a great story, and that is starting on the fullback line, Stacey Livingston of the Collingwood Magpies. I know she only had 9 disposals, but when you kick a goal after 66 AFLW games, I'm going to give you the crackers. Stacey Livingston, and then her fellow fullback will be Chelsea Bedell of the Adelaide Crows. I know they pushed her forward, but she did play enough on the defensive side, and that's where she's been really, really good the last few years. So I'm going to stick her on the back side. So on the halfback line, we see Charlotte Thomas of the West Coast Eagles, Tarney Evans of the GWS Giants, and Becky Webster of the Geelong Cats. Out on the wing, we see Sydney's Lucy McAvoy and Melbourne's Blathan Mackin. In the centers and the ruck, we see Jess Allen of the Adelaide Crows. In the center guts, we see Aisling McCarthy of the Fremantle Dockers, Brisbane's Ali Anderson, and North's Ash Riddell with another fantastic game there. On the half forward line, the little ripper that is Zarly Goldsworthy of the GWS Giants, Anya Tighe of the Fremantle Dockers, and Alice O'Loughlin of the North Melbourne Roos. In the full forward line, we see Jess Wardlaw of the St Kilda Saints and Kate Hoare of the Melbourne Demons. On the bench, like I said, we do defender, midfielder, ruck, forward, and then a utility, which can be from any position, somebody that I think deserves to be there. So on the defense, we see St. Kilda's Molly McDonald. In the midfield, we see Elise Parker of the GWS Giants. At the ruck position is GWS's Alicia O'Dowd with the fastest goal in AFLW history in
How
her
cool.
first ever AFLW game. She joins the one kick, one goal club, which is fantastic. Sorry, had to bring that out. I thought that was fantastic. Forward, Eileen Gilroy of the Hawthorn Hawks, and our utility is Ann Hatchard of the Adelaide Crows. So, a fun team there. This was a fun week to go through it. So many great performances. Your thoughts, Ali, on team of the week?
Oh, that's a solid team, and I think it's like the luck of the Irish this week. Actually, like
I was
the
noticing that.
Irish just they were just so good this weekend, like across all teams. They're just really making their mark in this competition, and yeah, you've got a couple there in your team now, which is cool.
Blathan Mackin, Aisling McCarthy, Alicia Dowd, Eileen Gilroy. I think I've got 4 or 5 on here,
Mm,
and that's not even count. Sarah Rowe kicked a goal for on the wing for Collingwood. She came close on that. There was, man, I saw the statistic was at 32 Irish players this year are in the competition,
wow.
and I've heard interviews that they said like Sarah Rowe has been saying like it's been getting around in Ireland that a lot of the young Gaelic players now are almost looking at their goal being not the Gaelic League, but AFLW because it's professional.
Yeah.
Unlike the Irish count the county and the games over there in Ireland where it's amateur, that many
Mm,
of the girls are playing Gaelic purely to get ready for AFLW to play professionally so they can get paid. It just shows you how awesome the competition is that it's pulling such great talent from Ireland. But and the scary part is there's still all this really good young talent coming in the pathway. This year's draft class is ridiculous for the for AFLW. In fact, I've said this, and I don't know what you think of this, Ali, that if I'm South Australia right now, I'm getting angry because some of your best talent is probably going to find its way outside of the state borders. Like India
yeah.
Rashid, unless Port Adelaide can pull a miracle out of their hat, who I think Port was probably banking on getting India Rashid into the fold, is most likely going to be finding herself in Victoria or even New South Wales after this season because of the national draft reduction that has come in this year, which I think honestly for the competition is very good because again, South Australia is just producing gem after gem after gem. I mean, Port Adelaide's list is literally the proof in the pudding. Lauren Young,
Yeah.
Piper Window, Sinead Goody, Molly Brooksby. That's just four. That's
Yeah.
not Brooke
Lauren
Bowl.
Young.
Yeah, well,
Oh, he's so
I added her, but Brooke Beaulieu
yeah.
playing for the Adelaide Crows as well. So there's
Mm,
so many good ones. There's so many good ones still in the pipeline for South Australia. That like India Rashid's there. I think Sophie Evans, I believe, from the Central Districts
yeah,
Bulldogs.
Sophie and Jazz Evans. And
Jazz
then you've
Evans is
got
who I'm
Poppy
thinking.
Schultz as well,
Yep, and then
obviously, who didn't get to play in the 18s championship, but she's going to
yeah.
be up there, top 10
Well,
draft pick too.
and I'm crossing my fingers that Kobe Morgan gets a look because I think her game this year really progressed on the wing. I think she did fantastic this year. So hopefully see her rise up the rankings a little bit with a little more play. So then hopefully in the next couple of years that Kobe can find herself some AFLW
Mhm.
time because I think she had herself quite the heck of a year for your beloved Norwood Red Legs. So let's jump to it. Tipping round two. This will be fun. I know we're still early. I know that I think the suspension for the hit on Maddie Collier dropped of 3 games just earlier
Mm,
today
and
on
Tani.
yep, on Tarney. So unfortunately, that will hurt Collingwood a little bit, but hopefully Bree Davy will be back. So we'll jump to it. The controversial game in question has been moved to the MCG, and that is the Western Bulldogs take on the Port Adelaide Power. Molly Brooksby, holy crap, you get to play on the G. How lucky
Yeah.
is that young lady? I'm gonna tip Port in this one. Again, unless the Western Bulldogs magically find something out of their hat, the way Port played against Adelaide, this could get ugly, and this could get ugly quickly. Port Adelaide, and I think Port Adelaide big.
Yeah, I think Port Adelaide big too, and I think Sinead Goody's going to have a day out on the MCG. She's going to love it on a big open field, I reckon.
Yeah, she'll kick a couple if she can do it. She is, especially considering she's so used to it playing on Woodville West Torrance giant oval that they have. So
Mm,
oh, Port
yeah,
Adelaide on that one. An interesting one for for Saturday afternoon footy, Friday evening for me. I cannot wait. My popcorn will be ready for this one as Casey Fields sees the Brisbane Lions come to town to face the Melbourne Demons. A cracking one here. Brisbane needs to bounce back. Melbourne, can they cement themselves as we are still in the premiership window? Who do you like, Melbourne, Brisbane?
I think like you said before, Donny, Brisbane are going to be firing after the loss against the Kangaroos at home. So yeah, I think definitely Brisbane will. Well, not definitely, but I'm pretty confident they'll come out firing and get the win.
And now I find it interesting that I just realized what a gigantic error that I had earlier in the episode. I said it was Collingwood. That's because in my tipping thing that I was doing it for, I had it on round three. Eh.
Ah,
I was like, wait, I thought they were playing Collingwood and realized, oh yeah, I was literally looking on the tipping app that I was doing that for so I could say who it was. Is it was that's the round three matchup is when Collingwood plays Brisbane. So my
yeah.
apologies for that error on that one. So Just going through and tipping the correct, doing the correct tips now for the correct week because I was tipping round three instead of round two. So that makes sense. So, alrighty. So we'll jump to it. I'm going to tip Brisbane in this one. I think they'll be angry. I know it's a Casey Fields, but Brisbane has found a way. They found the elixir to handle Casey's interesting conditions. So the windy conditions are always fun out in Casey, but I think Brisbane find a way to get it done. But I think that is an absolute classic. An interesting one as the Bombers hop on a plane and fly out west to greet Daisy Pierce coming off 4 points. Can West Coast make it two in a row, or can Essendon bounce back despite losing Bonnie Too Good to injury?
Yeah, I can't see Essendon being able to fill that void really, of Bonnie being out. So I'm pretty bullish on the Eagles this one, especially because it's in Perth. So I think maybe if it was in Melbourne, I would be going the other way. But yeah, being in Perth, I think they can go back to back wins.
I'm with you on this one. I think that's a loss, and you really saw that they were a little bit rudderless when it comes to it. I worry that's the same thing. Be interesting to see does Daisy have anything fun for Maddie Prasparkas through the center? Does Ali Drennan pull that almost tagging role potentially? We'll have to see how that goes. I'm gonna tip
Mm.
West Coast in this one. I think they found the secret sauce at home. I know Essendon might be a tiny bit of a favorite on that one, but I like the West Coast Eagles in that one. I think Bonnie Too Good is a big loss on that one. Victoria Park in Melbourne sees an interesting one as Collingwood hosts the Hawthorn Hawks. Collingwood coming off that stinging loss up in Sydney and Hawthorn coming off that nice win at home. I'm going to tip the Hawks in this one. I liked the way they play. You shouldn't have the win that they had at Kinetic Stadium. I think the Pies, I know Bree Davy will be back, but this might be the worst game to come back to as a speedy, quick, free a Hawthorne side that like to get out and run. And Bree Davy coming back from injury, is that the best possible matchup? So will Bree Davy return or not will be the question on this one. I like the Hawks.
I will be excited to see Bree Davy back. She's one of my absolute favourite players. But yeah, I think I'm with you too. It's funny what one round of footy can do and make you think because the last couple of tips would have definitely gone the other way, but I'm going to go with the Hawks as well.
Well, I kept an eye. I have a few friends that are Hawthorn fans, and I had seen that there was a lot of giddiness when it comes to this season because of the change, because the new coach that came in has really kind of he's put in a system that really helps this Hawks teams. They may not be the biggest side in the world. They're not super tall, but they're quick, they're agile, and they kick the ball quite well. So he's really put in a
Mm,
system that I think fit this Hawks team very well. They're going to be a pain for the first few. They're going to be a pain for the first 3 or 4 rounds until teams get used to what they like to do and start to counteract it because the more attention they get, the more coaches are going to analyze this group. So Hawthorne win this one. I just think it's a little early for Collingwood to have that elixir that is to find a way to stop the Hawks. So we'll jump over to Punt Road in the Swinburne Center as the Richmond Tigers host the top of the table GWS Giants. Yeah, it's really weird to say GWS Giants top of the table in the women's competition, but it's true. They do. Who do you like in this one?
Actually, this one's a bit trickier because it's like obvious for um GWS to pick GWS after the big win that they had, but I think Richmond, if they can play the way they did in that last quarter, um, that third and last quarter, could see them win. So yeah, I think, and it being in Melbourne, I'm going to lean towards Richmond. I think
I'm
we'll
I'm
see.
actually with you. Sarah Hoskins
Mm,
should be back. Everything that I've heard from social media posts and things like that is that she was close. She just did not get past that final test to make it on that. So I think Sarah Hosking coming back, Mon Conti's an absolute nightmare. I'm hoping Elise,
Mackenzie,
yep,
she's
yep,
a gun.
Ellie
Mm,
McKenzie, and I'm hoping maybe Elise Sharon comes back from her quad injury. We'll have to see
mm,
on that one. But if you can
yeah,
get both
that's true.
Sarah and Elise Sharon back into their lineup, that instantly is an upgrade. GWS, I think, is a little bit of the proverbial comet fool's gold, a little bit beating the Western Bulldogs. So I like the Tigers in
Mm,
this one on the Punt Road Oval. I think Mon Conti has herself a 3 votes M Conti type of game for sure
yeah.
on that one. So we jump to it up to the Great Barrier Reef Arena up in Mackay as the Gold Coast Suns host the Carlton Blues. This one is annoying because I look at it, and if you look at the results, you would think Gold Coast at home. Gold Coast should have a better chance. I'm going to take Carlton in this one. Again, the facelift, I think Gold Coast is going to take several rounds to kind of get everybody used to playing with each other. And I think Carlton played pretty well despite the crappy conditions and a good Hawthorn team that they were playing. I think um, Mimi Hill, Mia Austin, and some of the superstars that is. This is the game where you probably should play the three talls because you got a smaller back line. They're not as big. I like Carlton in this one.
Yeah, I'm really torn with this one. I think I'll go the Suns at home, only because it is at home, and I still really rate their midfield with Whitford and Rowbottom in there. So I'll back their mids in to win the game for them, I think.
That'll be a fun one. That'll be a very
Mm.
fun one. This one just as good as Arden Street Oval sees the North Melbourne Kangaroos come back from the nice win over Brisbane and are greeted with a not so nice welcoming gift of the Geelong Cats coming to town. Can the Cats get over the loss over the D's, or can the Roos continue a mighty start to the season?
This one hurts me. I wish we weren't playing Kangaroos this week because it would be nice
I
to
was
get
thinking the same thing.
a win on the board. But yeah, it's too hard to tip against North Melbourne with how they played last week against Brisbane. They just like such a professional team, and they're going to be hard to beat all year. I never tip against Geelong, so I'm still tipping Geelong, but it'll probably go the other
Well,
way.
here's what I'll say about this. I'm going to tip North, but I'm going to put this caveat. I'm going to put this caveat in there. North need to get out to a big lead early because
Mm,
playing in hot conditions like they did last week against Brisbane, that zaps you. No
yeah,
matter how much recovery, no matter how much hydration that you put in, it takes a while to
true.
recover from a hot game. And when
Mm,
you come back down to Melbourne, back into the late spring weather, Geelong has stayed in Victoria the entire time. Only a 2 hour drive, only the hour drive up the highway into Victoria into Melbourne. Geelong is going to have to they have to survive the first 10 minutes.
yeah, I think it'll be
Only
close.
be less than 12 points down, and I think you're in it with a crack because I think North is going to fade because of the recovery from a hot Brisbane game. So Geelong's one of those survive the first quarter, push in the second quarter, and all out in the third and fourth, and you got a shot. Legitimately, you've got a shot with the talent that Geelong has. They're in it with a crack. I'm not sure if Chloe Shear's back. That hurts because you
She's
really
up.
would love to have her there. But Jackie
Mm,
Perry's playing well, and again, you've got that trio in the midfield that's going to be fun to watch. But I think the first quarter is the watch. If North can get to a 3 to 4 goal lead, it could be a long day for the Cats. If they can keep it to 2 goals or less, the Cats are in it with a shot because North is going to fade as this game goes on because
mm,
you cannot recover super quickly from a hot game like that, especially a hot competitive game against Brisbane. So
mm.
tipping North, but I think Cats are in this come late fourth quarter. I think this is another one, unfortunately. Geelong may be shortening some lifespans this year because I think they're going to play in a lot of close. I think they're going to play in a lot of close games. So, on at the same time, which really annoys me because I would have loved to watch this game
Mm.
before, is RASCA Park in Melbourne sees St. Kilda host Sydney in a game that a lot of people say, could this be a matchup of the last team potentially to get into the finals? Saints,
This is a great
um,
matchup.
who do you like?
This is a great matchup again. Um, who do I like? It's in Melbourne. I think I'll go the Saints. I'll back them in. I really liked the way that they played on the weekend. Their style of footy and with Jessie Wardlaw firing up forward, she's going to be hard to stop. So it could go either way. I think really, but yeah, I'll back the Saints in.
Well, I'll say this. I completely understand what you're saying, but here's my counteract, and this is me trying to do analytical more than just red hat Donnie go Swans win. Because That's I try not to do that. They had to play up at the Gold Coast, so there's the travel. aspect. Gold Coast is probably a little bit more tropical, so it's a little bit warmer. Yes, they won the game easy, but again, it will zap you. Sydney playing a little bit of a also playing, but a little bit cooler evening and an extra day of rest. Coming
Mm,
down, you're going to be playing on a part. This is going to be a classic one is can Sydney take away Jesse Wardlaw? If they can take Jesse Wardlaw away, I think you kind of cut the proverbial head off the snake of St. Kilda because they rely on her. That's their target. So if Sydney can take that away, then who are your other options? Because the
mm,
midfield's going to have enough fun Lucy McAvoy being that with Lucy McAvoy being there. It's like, does Patricios play? How does Tanya Smith and Olivia Vesely and Hannah Stewart? How do they kind of handle it? And then
mm,
the other way around, who stops Chloe Malloy? Who shuts down Laura Gardner? Can Renee Carey can the rucks of St. Kilda slow down Allie Morfitt,
mm.
which
And
I think could be the killer one because Allie again played a really good ruck previous week. When she plays inferior rucks, Allie usually has days out, and
yeah,
she looked really good. That's where I think it's going to change. Is I think the rock dominance potentially of Allie Morfitt could flip this because if St. Kilda's got to defend Cynthia Hamilton, Chloe Malloy, Beck Privatelli, and Montana Baruldson, it's a long day. That's
mm,
not easy. I'm going to tip Sydney in this one purely on the fact that I think that dominance potentially in the ruck could be the catalyst for it. But this is going to be a fantastic game. This is two really good footy teams. Both are really good finals contenders. Cannot wait for this one. This will be a test for the Sydney Swans that I cannot wait to see how
yeah.
they handle it.
The other thing is, I think there's a bit of an injury cloud over Hannah Priest, their captain. So if she's not out, then yeah, I'll definitely
Yeah,
be
it,
swinging
it's
my tip over to Sydney.
it's gonna be a fun one. Again, St.
Yeah.
Kilda is nothing to sniff at. Again, Jesse Wardlaw will be Scott Gowans will probably spend many a night. I would say pull his hair out, but he doesn't have any. So So it's gonna be a few long nights trying to figure out how does he do it? Does he bring in Bella Smith for Alice Mitchell, or does Alice Mitchell get it with maybe a helper from Brianna Tarrant, or will they shift a forward back and play forward to have an extra behind the ball? This is where Lucy McAvoy maybe her utility spot. Maybe she goes as a loose to be able to take away free space for Jesse Wardlaw to lead into. So
Mm,
this could be a coaching one where Ken Scott Gowan's experience in coaching women's footy compared to Del Santo's lack of experience, that could be where this changes too, is the coaching box could be quite influential on how this goes. So
for
it's
sure.
gonna be fun. I cannot wait for that one. And then last but not least, an absolute ripper at Fremantle Oval out in Perth as the Crows fly over to face the Dockers, both teams coming off big wins. Can the Dockers shock the world, or do the Crows find a way to get 4 more points on the road?
I rate the Crows still. I think they'll be too strong for Freo. I really admired what Freo did on the weekend and the way they played. And they've got some really exciting players in Aisling and McCarthy as well. So I think I think though, yeah, I'll go the Crows because they're just so strong. Their midfield all over the field really, but their midfield, especially in Ebony Marinoff and Anne Hatchard, and then with Jess Allen playing the best footy she's playing, they're just going to be so hard to beat. So yeah, definitely going to go with the Crows for this one.
Tipping the Crows in this one only because this is one of those where the Dockers are going, darn it, we would love to have Kiera Bowers in this game because
Mm,
that would be such a helper in that center midfield against Nafi and Hatchard that you would love to have Kiera Bowers, and unfortunately, no Kiera Bowers, no Angie Stanett.
mm,
I just think when it comes to it, there's just going to be just the littlest bit too much talent for
how?
the Dockers when it comes to it through the center. So I like
Mm,
the Crows on this one. But again, some really good games this week. I cannot wait. It is going to be so much fun to watch the
yeah.
footy this weekend. So, Ali, that's it. That's all 9 games. That is round one reviewed and talked about. It was so much fun, as per usual. A legend that you are talking footy. It is always great to sit down and have a chat with footy with you. So, thank you again so much for hopping on the podcast today.
Thanks, Donny. I love talking footy, the nuffy that I am.
Well, considering what we were on for 35 minutes before we even hit record, so we
Yeah.
were passing around fantasy ideas, talking about our fantasy footy team. So that's how much of nothing of nuffies footy nuffies we are, and so not a problem at all. So that'll do it for another episode of Donnie's Disposals. Again, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe, and we'll be back again with more footy coverage very, very soon.